Hello, I'm Royson, and this session is going to talk about web design, human psychology, and how a visitor on your website would behave during the entire process of going through your website, be it getting some information or doing a checkout from your website. This session is recorded on a request from Institute of Management, and in the next 20 to 30 minutes we are going to go through the overview or the understanding about what a website is, what does web development or web design mean, a little touch base on human psychology, the behavior, and how a person who comes to your website would behave, and what are those specific elements or factors on the website that you could work upon to make the user flow as per as your choice. To begin with, let's understand what is web design. Web design is a subset of information technology. It covers the areas which are related to designing of website. It also includes web and graphic design, interface design, user interface or user experience, how your website could be made into a responsive website. When I talk about responsive, it means how well your website could be presented on different systems or screens, be it an iPad, a mobile or desktop, a laptop of different resolutions. How your website could deal with the concept of search engine optimization. Now, when we are doing a website, it is based on RGB mode, and usually the resolution that deals around with it is 72 dpi to 100 dpi. Website design is basically the process where you take a concept, a thought, or an idea, you try to make it into a wireframe, you make a mock-up of it, you design it using design tools such as Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, and other tools that are available. And once the design is ready, the inner pages, the navigations, the buttons, the colors, all those aspects are taken care in the website design aspects. And this, when is ready, is presented in the form of a JPEG or a PDF to the programmers. So this is the part of website design. Now when we go to the next part, it is called as web development. It is a continuation of this web design that has been working on. When the mockups are ready and they are converted or exported into JPEGs and PDFs, they are sent to the web development team. The web development team consists of front-end designers and back-end designers, or the developers. Front-end people, or the people who are dealing with front-end, their aim is to convert this mockup or PDF into a coded language which is read by the pages, or which can be presented on a web page using Internet Explorer, Mozilla, or Microsoft Edge, or Chrome. So the designers design the mockup, but the front-end developers are the ones who convert these images into a basic programming language, be it HTML, CSS. The back-end developers are the ones who actually code on functionalities and program on features based on what the front end of the website would look. For instance, let's say there is a website and we have a login feature, and this login feature becomes the backend from where a user could create pages, edit content, replace images, or add in some features through some plugins or modules. And this is very common in today's web development field, and it is called as content management system. There are many systems available. Couple of them are WordPress, there is Drupal, there is Joomla. So these frameworks help have a backend from where the owner of the website or the editors of the website can manage what is presented in the front end. So basically, they don't need to deal about or worry about the programming aspects, the C language or PHP language, but they just are presented with editors, and they just work as if they are working on a Microsoft editor and update the contents. So the backend developers are basically creating this framework or the platform where the editors can work on. So that's all about web design and web development. So when the web design is ready, it goes to the web development team, and the web development team basically converts and builds the entire structure. So it also includes creating navigations. It also includes adding up of features such as newsletter signups and some call to actions, which are basically what management students would be interested on. So that part of it is done by web development. And the third main part of today's discussion is human psychology. Now, what does human psychology mean? It's basically the behavior or the attitude of a person when he is presented on a particular situation. So, it deals with the study of human behaviors, emotions, actions, reactions, and attitude of an individual or a community when faced on a particular situation. It is basically the science of mind. And your mind is basically one of those most complex machine on earth, and to understand this, it's pretty difficult. But since you are into management and you want to see how your website could be used to convert leads or visitors who are coming to your website into sale, so it is important that you understand some of those basic human psychology or behavior, and this will basically help you in your entire sales flow or the sales funnel activities. Now, what does web design and psychology mean? So I just touched base upon it when I was trying to define human psychology. So when you deal with a website, and when you are making a website, or you're asking somebody to make your website, since you are into management or you are the owners of a business or a startup, you would definitely reach out to a programmer or a team of web design developers to make your website. So you need to understand some of those elements of website that you can play with, and you could use them as instruments to fine tune or to provoke your customers to take a decision or a step which you actually want your customer to do. What it means is, when a customer is on your website, you basically want them to go and click on the services, find out the service, and then after that, not just leave it over there, but take a call to action to go to either a contact page or fill in a sign-up form, or if you have an e-commerce store, you basically want them to buy a product. So basically go to the checkout page and then do a checkout or a transaction and complete the order. So web design and psychology deals with those business development activities which could be done through your website. Psychology thus can be a powerful sales tool, like we all understand, and this tool could be used to guide a user on your website. So why do you actually need to incorporate design psychology or web design psychology aspects when you are actually going online with your business? I have some statistics which I would like to share with you first, and I'm going to read them out one at a time to make you understand why this is important for you. The first fact is 57% of consumers will abandon a site that doesn't load within 3 seconds. So that's common. If you go to a website and you're trying to do a sign up, and if your sign up process is going to take 30 seconds, 20 seconds to actually load the next page, either your session will time out and you'll get an error, or if that is handled, you pretty much will give up and think about an alternative website where you can buy your product. A classical example was during the lockdowns when I as an individual was trying to do a checkout from one of those grocery online stores. The checkout would just keep turning around as a spinning wheel, but the next stage page could not come. So eventually what I had to do was drop the game over there and go to another website and do my checkout. So that's important. Almost half of your consumers who are on your website could be lost if your website is not loading within those 3 to 5 seconds of period when they click an enter button. So this is one of those psychological or behavior impact that could affect your sales. The second point is 92.6% of people say visuals and imaginary are the number one factors that influence their purchasing decisions. And truly this is correct, because when you see an advertisement, even on a TV, the creative that is used, or the flow or the ambience that is used, definitely makes an impact on your decision power or your decision making process. So almost 92.6% of people are saying that creative ads and designs do impact the decision making process. So in your website, if you're making a landing page, what are the creatives that you're using, or what is the eye-catching USPs that you're presenting on a page does make an impact. So if you're trying to sell something and you're not able to present it well, there's no point of the page. Usually I do tell this to my sales team, that your website is basically another virtual business developer. So you may be sleeping, but your website is online, and it's the entire job of this website is to generate positive leads for you, on which you could further work and complete the sale process. So if this business developer doesn't present what is needed by a consumer, it's just talking in the air. There is no sales that you can get out of it. The next is 85% of consumers read online reviews about local businesses before making a decision. And of this, 79% of those people trust online reviews just as much a personal recommendation from a friend. And it's something very natural even that we do. When we go to buy a product, let us go to the Amazon store, and we are trying to buy electronic gadget, say a mobile. So when you try to buy that mobile, before you click on the add to cart button, you scroll down to the ratings and reviews. You see what are the reviews that a normal person who has bought the same product is giving, and based on those reviews and ratings, your decision happens whether you are actually going to buy it from there or you may not buy it. Sometimes the reviews are quite transparent. They say that this is a duplicate product. They put up the pictures, or the shipment was not good, the picture of a broken screen of a mobile. So this will help you make a call whether is this the right portal from where you can buy your product. 41% of e-commerce cart abandoned is caused by unexpected charges during checkout, 29% by having to register before buying, 11% by unclear delivery information, and 10% by lengthy checkout process. So when you are in an e-commerce store, sometimes you see that when you do proceed to checkout, and in your cart you might have just added one product, but you will see there are 2 products or 3 products added along with it. It's like when you go to buy a website domain, and when you're going to checkout, automatically the privacy part of it of $5 per year is just added to your website cart, and that's surprising because you didn't actually opt for it. So that is something which you could consider as a negative way, and it could impact a consumer. He may drop the game over there and not buy from your store. So we have to be careful on it. The other thing is, when you're doing a checkout, there are 3, 4, 5 pages of next that you want to do before you actually successfully make an order. So these things are not good. You will have to consider the pain that a person has to go through the checkout to actually buy your product, and is it really worth, because you have a lot of competition in the market, and how do you compete with them is how fast you can enable your consumer to make a checkout. So having considered these 5 different statistics that I've presented before you, it is very important that as a business, having a website is not enough. Your website needs to do the job which is to get you potential leads or get you a conversion which will help you make sales. And for this, you need to understand the human psychology of your visitors or buyers. And based on that, you need to change or develop or design your web pages so that when a user comes to your web page, he knows where the informations are, he knows what he has to do, and within minutes he does the thing and he's out of the website and you have your sale with you. So this being considered, there are some of those tips that I would like to share with you right now, that how website design impacts a visitor's viewpoint and purchasing. So there are small elements, and I'm going to touch upon a couple of them today, not a lot of them, because we will take it into a FAQ session later. The first part is the space of the website. How is your website presented to your consumer? Is it just 2-3 big images that you have put in? Is it just a lot of contents written as if a big essay on your website? Or is it just that the informations are all there, but around the space, and it's not just organized? So that's one important factor. The second factor that impacts is color. The third is the typography, and the fourth is content. So let's take one at a time, all these 4 aspects, and see how web design impacts human psychology. So when you are on a website and you just landed on the website, how are you presented with? Are you presented with some pop-ups that are very disturbing or not really what you're looking for? How would you react to it? You'll pretty much walk out of that website, or just try to close the pop-up and try to find what you're doing. So when you are talking of a space or a page, you need to make sure that there are some standards of page. Like there has to be a header. The header has to have those main menus for navigation. You could have a banner, which is the point of or the screen where you're actually selling your USPs. You will have to have the next part of your space which talks about the product. The product talking cannot be just text or image. It has to be a combination of both of them. And then the next part of it is how you build trust of your website visitor or your buyer. So you basically need to have some reviews, some ratings, or some testimonials of what other people who have bought your product are talking about. Obviously they have to be good reviews, so you put them down right after the product information, so that when a person who is on the space of the page goes through all those information, gathers the information of your product, now he is trying to decide, is this my product, is it worth buying? And that's where your reviews, your testimonials, your ratings will do their part of magic, and they will help build the trust on your buyers, and they will think how authentic it is, and pretty much make a decision over there that yes, look, all of these buyers, all these people who are big shots are giving some good testimonials, so yes, I can go for it. So the next part of the space is all about building trust, and then the rest of the part of the space is where you actually give your user an interactive area where they can talk to you or connect to you. So maybe a form, maybe a checkout button, maybe contact us information, or an email, or a phone number, or an address. So these are the part of your web space, and the flow has to be very organized so that when a buyer is on your website, he is not confused. He is able to predict what he's going to get out of it. At the same time, when he is going through the page, your sales aspect should already start working with them. First, introduction, USPs, trust building, and sales, or the checkout. So the web space is where you actually are working along with your buyers thinking process, or the behavior. How is he going to behave as soon as he scrolls down and goes to the bottom of the page? So this is very important aspect from web design part of it. The space also needs to consider about page folds. What it means is, the page fold is the area of the space which is visible to a person on his screen in one go. So when you press page down, the next fold of your page comes in. Page down, the third fold of your page comes into your screen. So based on the size of your screen, this page fold has to be well defined so that each fold has a message for your buyer and they know what they are getting out of this fold. Okay, so this is something that you're talking about of a flow or a sales funnel flow, which you're dealing with the behavior of a human. How are you going to work them together? The second part of the factors that define human behavior is color. And now we all know that each color has its own say. If you talk about a color which is red, it talks about anger, it talks about vibrant. You talk about white, it's all about peace. Or if you talk about yellow, it is more about warmth or a lot of comfort zone or a friendship zone sort of thing. If you talk about green, it is all about progress. And each color has its own message that it shares out. And that is why when you see obviously blue is all about corporate and business. So when you see a website, a majority of the websites play with few of those basic colors, which is white, blue, a little bit of green, a little bit of red. So these colors are impact making. But if you all of a sudden use some color which is very much off the track, it could hinder the purchase process. How? Let me talk about it. Let's say you're on a business website and the website is about an agricultural website which is selling about some seeds or fertilizers, and your web page color all of a sudden is, let's say, black or some fluorescent color which is non-earthy. And when I'm saying earthy, means all those palette colors which are of the tone of green to brown. So what happens is, as a person who's in the agriculture field, I am used to the colors of green, the colors of brown, and that is why if you keep an observation, most of those agro-based businesses deal with these 2-3 colors. So all of a sudden, if you present some other color to them, it's disturbing. Suddenly your thinking process changes, and that flow that you're trying to build on your space will break. So you need to understand which color to use at which space. Obviously, the call to action buttons need to have a separate and a eye-catchy color. So if you're using something which is let's say on the tone of black and white, your call to actions could be made of yellow, or they could be made of red, or they could be made of orange. So suddenly, when the user is going through the space and going through the folds of the contents, when it comes to the decision making power, his eyesight directly goes to that eye-catchy color which has the label proceed or add to cart or send inquiry or let's talk. So that is important, that which color you're dealing with. The third factor that needs to be considered is typography. What I mean by typography is the font style, the font size, whether you're using bold, whether you're using caps lock, whether you're using underline. It's just the same way that you're writing an email, a business email. How do you write a business email? Do you write everything with caps? No. Do you write everything with bold? No. You need to know which words need to be put into bold in your email, which words or lines need to be underlined, and which words need to be italics. At the same time, when you're writing a business email, you will not use font size equal to 24 or font size equal to 36. No, you will try to follow the font size which is either 10 or 12 or max 14. Not more than that. So same thing happens with the web design. The typography matters a lot. Your important informations need to have the highlights, so you need to bolden them up, or you need to increase the font size or use an underline or a different color for the font. But at the same time, the normal trend that goes through is the font size of 10, 12, 14. So 10 is the basic content and 12 becomes the heading, 14 becomes the jargons or the catchy sales sentences that you're trying to make. And that is why even in programming we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, and heading 5, 6, and so on, which helps you make the font size bigger and smaller in a flow of, in a pattern or a flow, so that you know, whatever message you're trying to send to your users or buyers, that's done successfully. At the same time, the font style matters. I mean, you can use Times New Roman, or you can use Arial font for your business email, and that is good enough. But if you try to use Comic Sans or some cursive, or your a sort of very creative type of font in your emails, that doesn't buy it, because when you're sending it to a stakeholder, you want to present yourself as professional and not kiddish. So same thing happens with your website. Now, if your website is dealing with kids or toys or something which is related to you know, child activity games or something, definitely your font style changes. You cannot put it as formal, but you will have to turn to that Comic Sans sort of fonts, where, you know, it's more eye-catchy to the child feels very interesting. It's like, you know, my son yesterday was trying to write a story, and he was using Microsoft Word for the first time. So I just gave him an introduction to the entire Word, and he started writing a story, and the font that he used was pretty much like not Bookman, but it was like a different font, which is more like a calligraphic font. And you know, I got a little worried that why is he using it for a book or a story writing. And then suddenly I realized that the psychology of the child is different. He has been going through all this while of his you know, life through comic books and cartoons, and all those fonts that he's been introduced to is something similar to Comic Sans. And if I ask him to use Arial, it's not going to be interesting to him. So that's how human psychology works. When you are dealing with your website, you need to know who your audience is. If your audience are children or kids, use a font style or a typography which deals with them or interacts with them or connects with them. But if you're dealing with some people who are related to blue collar businesses, you need to have more formal typography in your businesses. At the same time, let's say your website deals with vision sort of things, or for some senior citizens, your fonts cannot be any more than 10, 12, 14, or you know, those size. You will have to grow up your font size bigger, because it's natural your senior citizens are going through that the visionary problem, the vision problems of their eyesight. So it's always good to give them a little bigger font. And these days websites have also come up with 8 tools. Now the 8 tools, when you click on them, it gives you a facility where you can change the entire typography of your website the way you want, and you set them up and apply it, and the entire website or the web pages, fonts and styles change to that. So that's a good thing. And from business point of view, sales point of view, management, students and stakeholders would always love to give these features to your buyers, and you know, help them so that they find that comfort zone in your website where they feel they are connected to you, and they can rely on you, and at the same time come to that level of comfort where they can do a sale with you. So typography is important. And the fourth aspect of human psychology or behavior impact is the content. What are you presenting to your visitors? The content, does it really have a message? Is the message clear to your readers? Are you sharing the right message to your readers? So this becomes very important. At the same time, when you're writing contents, you also need to understand which region your visitors are from. If they are from UK, your content language or tone needs to be adjusted to their English. If it's US, you can use a howdy word or a hey word, and that's fine. But when you go to UK, you need to have a formal hello or hi. And I mean, it's not so formal these days with the tech savvy world that we are living with, but these are some of the aspects that you need to understand, that regions do make an impact on the content. The content presentation is another thing. That does your content give the information that is needed to make a background for the sale, and after that does your content encourage your visitors to make that decision of buying. So the content part is also very important when it comes to web designing and human psychology or behavior. Now there is a concept which Herman Eddinghaus has pitched on. It's called serial position effect. Now what does this effect mean? So when you are in a list, what matters is not the content in the middle. They are important, but you will see that the content which is listed on the top and the content which is listed on the bottom, they have more preference than the content that is listed in between them. And that is why when you are in your product category page or your service category page, you as a management student or a business, from your business perspective, need to list those services which are highly important to you in the first part of your list, and the second important probably in the last part of the list, because you know it's a tendency that you will go scroll up and down, and the first and the last is where your eyesight goes first to read. So if you can do the pitching in the first go itself, a visitor will know what he needs to buy. So if you are in your product categories, and if you're in the phone categories, and if your first product is, let's say, iPhone, it will have naturally more importance than the products which are listed down, because the behavior of a user is to click on the first product and see what it is. And that is why Google SEO is all about search engine optimization. How can I get into the first 3 listings for a keyword? If you don't know what is SEO, search engine optimization is the process or the technique where you get your website listed on Google search engine or any other search engine on for a particular keyword. So if somebody is searching for web design Ahmedabad, and if the first name or the listing is of Atlas SoftWeb, naturally the visitor who is searched for this will click on the first one and go into that website. And that's what you need, because you have such a long competition in your surrounding that you want to be that first, if not the first one, the top 10 at least, where the user is pretty much the possibility is more of a user to pretty much click on them and go to your website. And that is why even in your Google search, you will see that when you search for a product, the first 2 or 3 products listings on the top and 1 or 2 on the bottom are not the organic one. They are the paid advertisements. Why? Probably I feel that this entire serial position effect which was pitched on is all about this, because if you put the advertisements on the top 3 and the bottom, naturally there is something which is true that the user is going to click on them, and that will help much more effective marketing. So this is important when you come to your website as well. Let's say in the website, the navigation bar on top, the main menu that you're creating, what will be your first menu and what would be your last menu? Usually a normal tendency, you will see that the last menu is always contact, and the first menu is mostly either service or product. Why? Because these are the 2 important things where a user or the owner of the website wants his visitor to go through. So that is important. And when you are trying to design a website as a business stakeholder or a person who is making a business decision or a sales decision, you need to identify such positions on your website where you can pitch your most important product or services. You also see that on a web page, you always have a request for quote on the right side. I don't know why, but think about it from the effect point of view, that this right column is pretty much about a form, or on the right side down it says let's chat, let's connect. Why not on the left side? It's always on the right side, because when you see a screen, when you read the content and come towards down, your eye vision will always go to that right side, where if there is a call to action, a user is pretty much going to click on that, and you will be able to get the user do what you want to do. So that's about the entire thing from website design and the human psychology and behavior, how we could use a website and the elements of the website to work around the human psychology and behavior and encourage the buyers or the visitors on the website to do an activity or take a step that you as an owner or a salesperson would like your consumer to do. I hope this benefits you. I will also touch base on my second series, which is all about how user experience on an e-commerce site can help you generate more sales. Thank you for being with me in this web series. Feel free to reach out to me with your queries, and I will try my best to answer to them. Thank you.